Sterling proves his class, Mbappe smashes Messi's record, Spurs on. We've got a news roundup and this week's great debate all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the Onefootballers and this is the Daily News. So first off, and to last night's Champions League action where Pep Guardiola called Raheem Sterling outstanding for his involvement in the 5-1 thrashing of Atalanta. In the first half, Raheem Sterling provided 2 assists for Sergio Aguero, then in the second half grabbed an 11-minute hat-trick to prove he really is one of the most consistent and best players in the world. Now, if you think I'm saying this just off the back of last night, check around here for a video that we made about 6 or 7 months ago where I detailed just why he is so good. Okay, the stats from that video aren't obviously relevant to now because we made it quite a while ago, but you can kind of see what we're getting at. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. As for the rest of the evening, well, Manchester City didn't have it all their way as Phil Foden was sent off for 2 yellow cards and Rodri limped out of the game with a hamstring injury. This just shows that on one end of the field they've got a brilliant attack, but at the other end their defence is a little bit questionable. It is helped by the fact that Otamendi, Stones and Walker are back to full fitness, but things look a little bit wary at the back for Pep Guardiola's men. And talking of world superstars, we're moving on to Kylian Mbappe, who almost bettered what Raheem Sterling did because he didn't even start the match. He came off the bench and within half an hour had scored 3 goals and got an assist as PSG absolutely battered Club Brugge 5-0. This puts them comfortably atop of their Champions League group and they could have sealed qualification if it wasn't for the fact that Real Madrid managed to win in Turkey against Galatasaray. As for Kylian Mbappe, well, his hat-trick meant that he absolutely smashed Lionel Messi's record of being the youngest player to reach 15 goals in the Champions League. He's done it at 20 years old, a full year and a bit ahead of time that Lionel Messi did so. If he goes on to have any sort of career like Messi has in the Champions League, well, this surely will be a defining moment in it. And next up to, obviously, more Champions League action as Heung-min Son fired Spurs to a fantastic victory which really helped ease the pressure on Mauricio Pochettino. The Spurs boss said after the game that he needs to work 200% to help the team move in the right direction and that yesterday was a really good start. Of course, Spurs do head to Anfield on Sunday evening, so things could go tits up again, but for the moment they should revel in the 5-0 victory. Heung-min Son got on the score sheet twice and was a real attacking threat. Harry Kane was also on the score sheet twice. Eric Lamela popped up with a goal and things aren't looking so bad at the moment. In the rest of the group, Robert Lewandowski also proved what a top striker he is, potentially one of the best in Europe, by bagging 2 goals as Bayern Munich edged past Olympiacos 3-2. Elsewhere in the Champions League last night, and Cristiano Ronaldo missed the chance to break a Champions League record. That's not something you hear very often about him. He could have become the first player to score against 34 different opponents in the Champions League, as he's currently on 33, the joint record holder with Raul, but he didn't score in their 2-1 victory over Lokomotiv Moscow. That went to Paulo Dybala, whose 2 goals in quick succession managed to turn around the 1-0 deficit and give them a 2-1 victory. So next up to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's news, when the Copa Libertadores final has its first contestant. That is last year's winners River Plate, who managed to come through their semi-final against Boca Juniors. They did win the first leg 2-0, and even though they lost the second leg 1-0, they obviously go through on aggregate. Elsewhere, when Spurs are interested in Barcelona's young midfielder Carlos Alenya in January, Real Madrid have told former Manchester City player Brahim Diaz that he could be on his way out of the club despite only recently signing for them, and Arsenal legend and Spurs villain Sol Campbell has joined Southend as manager. Last night he looked over their first game as they lost 7-1 at home to Doncaster. So lastly but not least, we come to this week's great debate where our guys in the Onefootball newsroom come up with a question for all of you to answer. You can see their answers and my answer in the relevant article in the Onefootball app, which is free to download for all of you guys on iOS and Android. But anyway, back to the question, where should Jose Mourinho go next? There's no right or wrong answer, it's just your opinion, which you can let me know in the comment section down below. As for me, I think that there's so much fanfare around Jose Mourinho and so much spotlight, he doesn't need to go to another big club with a lot of spotlight. He should probably go to that next tier of club. I'm going to say maybe Monaco in France, or even a return to Porto, where he's got the challenge of taking them back to the Champions League standard. I think he can definitely do that. Of course, let me know your thoughts on the great debate and the rest of today's daily news in the comment section down below. You can also click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.